Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another exciting week with Mission Matters. We host a weekly show, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST for all the East Coasters here. And what we do is put together a variety of different topics. This week's topic is focused on how has traveling impacted your career? And if so, how? And so we know there's going to be a lot of interesting tidbits of information. Our company is called Mission Matters. We're a media platform focused on the needs of entrepreneurs, business owners, executives. Our mission, in short, is to help amplify their purpose so that we can inspire and educate our audience who are either future entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs that are making it happen now. And so we always want to provide them high quality content. And what better way to do it than a lot of our authors. So even though we're a media platform, we also provide full service book publishing. And we also are a full content marketing company as well. So we help with everything from launching podcasts, editing video content, audio content, helping with social media and PR, all kind of package combined together. And so with us on stage, we have a few of our authors, Tom, Elizabeth, Banu, and Dr. Kathryn Wilder. They're all authors in our network. And so they're going to be chiming into the conversation. And so we're going to have all of our guests introduce themselves. And before we do that, I'm going to pass over the baton to Adam, my co-founder of Mission Matters, and let him kind of spearhead the conversation from here. And take it away, Adam.
All right, Chirag, thank you for the intro, and thank you for the great topic for everybody that's listening to this. Chirag picks these topics, and he always comes up with great stuff, and then keeps it interesting. So I'm excited about it, and I want to get everybody's views on this. So just to start this off, let's just go around the room and introduce ourselves. Maybe we'll start with Elizabeth, if you like.
Oh, okay, sure. So my name's Elizabeth Yo. I am a 27-year Navy veteran. I am also an author, thanks to the wonderful gentleman on this call, and also an advocate of CASA for the County of Orange here in California, as well as I do a lot of community engagement, outreach, and volunteering. Also started a company last year, Veteran Charities Initiative, where we focus on consulting, recruiting, and staffing of women veterans in leadership positions within the corporate space. So I'm also a certified coach, trainer, and speaker now with the John Maxwell team. And so really trying to advocate for, many different arenas, but especially a lot of issues surrounding the veteran community. So that is me. I'm really happy to be here and very honored, honestly, to be with you all. So thank you so much. I am Elizabeth, and I yield the mic.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Appreciate it. And great to see you, and excited to get your take on this because I know you have some stories, so this is going to be good. So, Banu, if you want to go, I know your mic was already up and ready to go.
Sure. Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. My name is Banu Raghuraman. I am an IT professional with a few years of experience in different areas within software development. I'm here because I, too, participated as an author in one of the Mission Matters books. It was the first one in Women in Business series, which was really exciting for me. That was kind of my maiden venture, if you will, with published books. My topic was on empathy, and that is a topic quite close to my heart, and I'm hoping that I can shed some insight specifically about how empathy, my level of empathy and my awareness of that quality has changed quite a bit through traveling, and looking forward to having an engaging discussion.
I'm doing one form of traveling right now, and that's by bicycle. So when I see this question, I may answer it the opposite. Instead of how has traveling impacted your career, how has your career been impacted by travel? And I may not be saying that. And one of my things that's been very important to me these last 3 years is reducing my carbon footprint. One of the ways that I do that is I ride my bike, not just for exercise, but also for bicycle commuting. I'm a performance psychologist. I'm a two-time WHO from University of Virginia. One of my mantras for a fiction book that we're writing, well, do well, and belong. Kathryn Wilder, I yield the mic.
Thank you, Dr. Wilder, and I have to get better at saying that. So I will start saying this is Adam Torres, and I yield the mic. I keep on. Elizabeth, I'm going to get better at this. I promise you. I know I'm a slow learner on this, but I know there's protocols, and I promise you I'm going to get better. And I'm not passing the mic yet because I'm not done. So I think we just let's just start off with the basic question that Chirag provided us, and then let's build on it. So I'll open it up to the floor. How has traveling impacted your career? If so, how? My name's Adam Torres, and I yield the mic. All right, does anybody want to answer the question? If not, I can start. I can start. That's fine. You know what? I'm mad at everybody right now because I did it right. Finally, I'm writing this down. This is Adam Torres, and I yield the mic, and then I get crickets. All right, I'm going to yield the mic again, Banu. I think you were ready to take lead. Okay.
No problem. Thank you. So for me, I think I have experience traveling on two fronts. One is just traveling as a hobby and looking out to new places. But at the same time, I've also had the fortune of living in specific places, which I would also consider as traveling because it did give me a new experience, something that I hadn't had before. So growing up, I went to 13 different schools, and it wasn't just traveling from country to country, but it was also from neighborhood to neighborhood. And while we were there in each of those countries, I also had the fortune of going out to specific holidays as well. So for me, traveling has been very impactful on two fronts in that regard, because it definitely has impacted my career because it has made me more self-aware of myself. It has helped me understand people around me. And on top of that, one of the key things that I think people kind of rely on when they're building their career is networking. And if you think about the various topics that you want to talk about to people, I've never come across a scenario where someone is not interested in knowing more about where I have traveled or what kind of experiences I've had. And somehow that translates into a better quality of conversation with the person as well. So I think those are some of my high-level points about how traveling has specifically impacted my career, because it makes me more personable, it makes me more engaging and interesting to other people. And at the same time, I'm able to meet other people on a common level of understanding. So that would be my high-level intro into how traveling has impacted my career. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to share, if you don't mind, answering that question in the opposite way. How has your career impacted your traveling? And I'm going to address that from when I was a pro cyclist in my 20s. And because of being a pro cyclist, I got to see many parts of the country and many parts of the world that I would not have seen otherwise. You know, sometimes that travel would be overnight, and maybe, you know, you go to the Blue Ridge Parkway and there's a race. I may have been sleeping in the car, but once I woke up, you know, you might have a 65-mile roadway race ahead of you. And so you get to see the area up close. You get to experience a small part of community and what that community is like, and whether or not they're welcoming to cyclists or to bicycle racers. So I had many opportunities because of my career to see the world, and that influenced personal growth, perspective, pretty much everything about who I am, from traveling to Australia, Ireland, New Zealand on my bicycle. This is Kathryn Wilder, and I yield the mic.
So for me, this is Elizabeth speaking. I guess I will take it from the only perspective I can, which is a military one. So much like what you mentioned, Kathryn, I really opened up mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, traveling to other places, kind of in the unknown. Many times when people travel, they have some sense of idea about where they're going. They usually can get some information, do a little research, decide what restaurants they might want to visit or what parks are different, tourist attractions they might want to visit when they go. But when you're in the military, you're given a set of orders. You have absolutely no idea what you're going to be walking into, how you're going to be living, and what the surrounding environment, circumstances actually will end up being for you. So for me, it was a very enlightening and eye-opening experience for me. And it actually helped me to grow up and grow out of my comfort zone. And I was appreciative of that experience because when I first started traveling, I was only 19 years old and I had never left my hometown. Well, I'll say I've never left the borders of our country before. And so for me, it was extremely kind of nerve-wracking, scary, but enlightening all at the same time. So it really opened up my senses. It opened up the empathy and sympathy in which I have for people and understanding of cultures and other ways of living, and also the challenges that other people face in different parts of the world that I was never aware of. But now I seek to understand in my career. I seek to understand people that work with me, for me, around me. I really got to say, I was not that type of a person. I was more kind of center focused and thinking everything kind of ran the same everywhere around the world, and it absolutely does not. So for me, it was an absolute enlightening and has propelled me into being a much more empathetic, much more open and curious to other cultures, other people in every situation, status, or background. So yeah, that's me, and I'm Elizabeth, and I yield the mic.
Hi, everyone. This is Chirag speaking. So traveling for me, I started actually my entire career started from traveling. In fact, I ended up actually in between college. I was living in China for about 6 months, and I was actually learning Mandarin at the time and realized that if I really wanted to learn the language, the best way to do it is to actually live in China if I was going to learn it, just because you have to be completely immersed in it. And I was living on my own. I ended up getting a lot of folks actually I got to meet a lot of people. I realized I was actually very introverted because I was living alone and I had to kind of live, barely speaking the language. I would play charades trying to get my way around, but it's really helped my entrepreneurial career because I feel like it's just, you're improvising a lot when you're living alone and when you're traveling like that. Like you have to meet new people, right? And so I learned how to make friends. I also then moved to Chicago right after college. And so I had to rebuild a whole community. And I feel like I constantly have to do that all the time, even from like the different ventures that I've been a part of. And there's been a direct translation and correlation between my travels, how that's impacted me, what I've been able to learn culturally, and also allowed me to relate and connect with a lot of people too. Like even from my travels in China, I was able to connect with a lot of folks in the US, and I could relate to them because some of them would be I had traveled to the parts of China where some of them were from, and I've been able to get clients directly as a result out of that, just because of that relatability. But anyway, my 2 cents just right off the bat, but I yield the mic.
I don't know why you don't go first, Chirag. You're always so on point.
Elizabeth, I was gonna make him talk this time if he didn't. I was about to message you privately and say, "Oh, Chirag is answering this one. We're not letting him off the hook. I don't care."
Chirag, seriously, always the best and always like the last to speak.
Chanelle, we were just answering so first off, welcome. And we were just answering the first question that went on there. So how has travel impacted your career? If you'd like to maybe tackle it next, not to put you on the spot, but if you want to, I'm happy to hear your thoughts and feel free to introduce yourself.
Oh man, I was just telling Chirag that I'm not sure what my thoughts are just yet. I was just kind of getting a grasp of, I don't know, just reflecting back on the times that I did travel for my career. Unlike Chirag, I didn't go to other countries. I've just mainly been in the US for business purposes. So I just feel like travel for me has opened up my mind to how much bigger and networking like collaborations have been able to, but I don't know, like I travel for PR purposes. I've traveled for, making new connections, making new friends. I don't know. I think that my brain's and my head is not in the game right now. But I love to hear everybody else.
Do you like how when somebody says not to put you on the spot, but then they actually do put you on the spot? Like obviously I didn't mind doing it because I did it, and Prachi knew she was next, so I hope she was ready for that one and got a little bit of time to prepare based on us talking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I just
not to put you on the spot next, Prachi, but if I'm pronouncing your name right, I apologize if I'm not. But
yeah,
you'd like to go next?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect.
So I was not preparing anything. It's just that I feel like that I was not ready to come up. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to listen to everybody. But then I was like, it's okay. I think I should also go up and, speak something, because I can't be at a platform wherein I'm not able to speak anything. I always have to say something. So that's about it. I was listening to everyone. It's great. I am still a student though. I'm a final year student. And so, of course, I haven't traveled as much as you guys have. So, but yeah, one thing is that I left my hometown to pursue my undergraduation. So I've been specializing in marketing and international business from a very renowned university here in India. So yeah, I moved to Delhi. Originally I hail from Punjab, and so that was in totality a very great experience for me, because not only did I get the requisite exposure, which was lacking, not only did I get more and more opinionated about myself, I rationalized a lot of things in my life, but apart from that, I was able to make a lot of quality connections. I explored myself, explored my interests, and just found out that, of course, marketing is not something, marketing or strategy, any domain pertaining to marketing is not something for me. It's not just a career choice. It's something that I'm genuinely passionate about. And I feel like that would not have been possible if I wouldn't have received this opportunity to leave my hometown. Apart from that, yes, I've traveled here and there for internships to work with companies. Of course, I've traveled, I've switched cities as well. And it has been a great experience, because honestly, I was spoon fed, till the time I was in my hometown by my parents. For every little thing, even if I had to go to a gym, which was literally nearby, I always had a driver, there waiting for me, that okay, I'll pick you up, I'll drop you off and all that. So my parents were very skeptical, they did not even let me use Uber. So this is so for tuitions, for hangouts, everything. So I just did not even know the meaning of independence. So I feel like that traveling, the most important thing that you inculcate in your personality when you travel is independence. You get to learn a lot about yourself, about your surroundings. And I feel like that, it's not only about your network, but when you find yourself, I would say, isolated, that's when you try to regain a lot of mental peace as well. I don't know that how many people here are actually able to understand what I'm trying to say, but when you're traveling a lot, you're on your own. So there is an obligatory have to, which sort of like associates itself with you. You have to get out of the situation, and you're going to have to do it all by yourself. Nobody's going to get into your shoes and fight this battle for you. So I feel like that is also one thing that traveling taught me. And it impacted my career, of course. It impacted my career. It impacted the kind of people I made my network with. And yeah, a lot of good things happened. But to summarize, yeah, these were some of the pointers. So thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Prachi, for sharing that. So the next thing I wanted to ask, and this is completely voluntary, nobody has to participate in this, but I was just thinking, so like a funny travel story, like just to lighten it up a bit. And I'll start with this one, and it's really embarrassing, but it's funny, and it just goes to show. So like, first off, to answer the question, how has traveling impacted my career? I think traveling is like, and seeing other countries and other places is one of the biggest reasons why I've been able to have any type of vision to really do anything in terms of my career, I would argue, because where I'm from and just in general, like my parents, it's not that, my mom, they're smart, they're intelligent. She has her master's from University of Michigan, so she's educated, great woman, but like traveling was just not their thing. Like my parents growing up, they just never really talked about it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't really care about it, really. So they were pretty insular into just like the United States. Within the borders was enough. Like my dad's from Puerto Rico, so maybe like a trip to Puerto Rico was like, but that's technically US, right? But anyway, so When I turned 18, I was like, oh, I can finally travel. I was so excited. I remember so my first trip, I'd never been to Europe. And I'm like, oh man, I want to go to Europe. Like, this is awesome. And so this is, pre-social media, right? I think Facebook came out like a year or two after I started college, like in the early 2000s. So this is pre-social media, pre-seeing anything anywhere. So all I knew is that I had a ticket to go to Amsterdam. So that was like my gateway. And then I'd be going to a bunch of other places. So somebody I remember just in passing, they're like, stay at the hostel, right? So I didn't know what a hostel was. So I thought it was the name of a place. I didn't know it was a thing like hotels or motels or things like that. I thought it was an actual place. So picture this. 18-year-old Adam getting off the plane. I've never traveled Europe either. So I had almost 100 pounds of luggage with me. I still remember because I had to pay more for each time I flew somewhere because of the amount. So I have these two big bags with me. And I'm like, because I'm staying there for like a couple months, like just traveling Europe. So I don't know about like backpacking or travel light or anything. So I have like, again, 100 pounds of luggage with me. I'm traveling like an American, right? And then second thing is I go into the taxi. I still remember this to this day. I get into the taxi and I'm like, hey, can you take me to the hostel? And the taxi driver, he's like, so which one? And I'm like, what do you mean which one? More than one? I was told that I should just go to the hostel. And he looks at me like, oh my gosh. And now picturing myself right now as like this 18-year-old little baby, I'm like, how I must have looked. So that first night, I still remember, he takes me all around. It happens to be the height of tourists. I'm going around and I can't find there's no open hostels after he explains to me what it is. So we end up taking all my luggage and stuff like that. We put it in the train station. At this time, you could still put luggage in a train station locker. So still, pre 9/11, pre all of that stuff. And then the first night, I still remember, I'm like, oh, because it's the only time, thank God, it's ever happened in my life. But I ended up walking around just exploring, and I woke up the next morning and I'd slept on a park bench. First night ever traveling internationally, and I slept at a park bench because I didn't have anywhere. Next day, I found a hostel, but that's how inexperienced I was in traveling. And as I'm listening to everybody talking about what traveling did for them, I'm like, man, if it wasn't for traveling and me opening up my mind or just the idea to possibilities, I wouldn't have any concept of the world and what's available or what's possible. So for me, obviously, the United States has been great to me and I love it, but getting to know other cultures, going other places, that's made the difference in any type of vision or anything in my career, I would argue. I'd like to know if anybody else would like to share a funny story or traveling or something else like that, so we can, and my name is Adam and I am yielding the mic. I did it, Elizabeth.
I'm so proud. I don't know if mine is funny, but it's right along the lines of yours because I grew up next door to Adam. Basically, he's in Michigan, I'm in Ohio. And I don't know what it is about people in the Midwest, but they're very comfortable at home. And so, maybe we travel all over the state. Maybe we get to Detroit and then right back to Cleveland, where I was from. And that's honestly, I wanted to get out of Cleveland. I wanted to see the world. It's got to be more to the world than Cleveland. I got to get out. And so I really wanted to join the military so I could travel because, my parents were just like that. Just, they take vacation and then stay at home, work in the yard and just this is really how life goes. So I had to get out. My grandparents traveled. They would go to Trinidad every year for the carnivals and stuff, but my mom would never let me go. So I didn't get that experience growing up. And I think I went to Rochester once when I was 8. And I'm like, really, this is it? Niagara Falls, the standards. So yeah, I joined the military thinking, I don't know what I thought. I don't know why I thought it was going to be some kind of real vacation. And they mentor you and it's all comfy, cozy when you go. And so I left at night, not really thinking about it. I land in Orlando. I'm like, okay, this is cool, Florida, but it's dark. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just kind of see some other girls that look kind of lost and thinking, are you going to the boot camp too? And so we're kind of just stragglers. We're hanging in the airport. We don't know what to do. And, we have one piece of paper. So this is me back in the 90s. So there was no internet. There was no Google. There was no Facebook. There was nothing. So there were pay phones. And if you didn't have change, you were screwed. So a lot of collect calls going on back to my mom and dad's house. And so finally some bus shows up, picks us up, drives us through Orlando. And this is none of our hometowns. We have no idea where we're going. It's dark. We have no idea what's happening. happening. And I thought to myself at that very moment, what have I done? What have I done to myself? What am I doing here? I don't know these people. It's dark. I don't even know if I could make my way back to the airport, because my first thought was, I'm just going to get out of here. I mean, I can just have my parents just get a taxi for me somehow. But yeah, that didn't happen. And I was stuck there. And that was the scariest feeling of my life. And almost the like instantly regretting it. Like, oh, is this what I thought travel was going to be? Maybe I should have just gone ahead and gone to college. So yeah, I went through a lot of back and forth turmoil. That was the first trip on the first leg, my first outing to boot camp. Then I'm off to the Azores. And does anybody even know where that is? Because back in the 90s, nobody knew where it was. And so I still have to explain to people what that is to this day. So my first station, I'm off to an island in the middle, literally, of the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm thinking to myself, how do I get out of here? There's no regular commercial flights. There's nothing. I'm trapped. So it was a very scary feeling. And I cried a lot. And then I realized, I just got to do this thing. And so thank God I just, I had some person, on my team and my unit at my on shift show me this and that. But it was a lot of, like I said, growing up, right? You just got to figure it out. You're on your own, and you learn how to really become independent and make use of resources or create some when you're out there. So it's happened to me so many times throughout the military. I just kind of drop you in the middle of a pea bowl and you just kind of figure it out. So yeah, I wanted to speak on it because I feel like it's a Midwest thing where people are just not trying to get out and travel. I don't know even now I have to beg my mom, like, come on, hello, I live in California, lady, get on the plane. So yeah, I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for sharing your story, Adam.
Oh my gosh, Elizabeth, I was cracking up. Please, no, Banu, please. I just had to say, Elizabeth, I was cracking up this whole time because I'm picturing poor little baby Elizabeth in this airport trying to figure it out. I'm sorry. My name is Adam Torres. I will yield the mic, but I had to laugh.
I'm going to have a very good time topping those 2 stories. But my story of humor was I had actually visited one of the villages up in England. So this was part of a trip that happened a long time ago. I was much younger, and I also am not very good with animals. I usually believe that if I can't really communicate to you, I can't really tell you if I am, coming in friendly terms or otherwise. But yet I pushed my boundaries and I said, okay, let's go for horse riding, because I've always seen these really pretty Jane Austen novels where people would be riding on the horses. So it was almost like a very romantic dream of a teenage person. So I decided to go to this horse farm nearby. And when the lady asked me how much experience I had, I said pretty much none. And she picked possibly the oldest horse that she could find. I mean, at that time, I was still tall enough. Back then, I didn't grow much in my adult years. But, when I had topped off my height there, I could have literally climbed off the floor and gotten onto the horse's back because it was that curved. But still, I got on it and it was going a certain distance. And after a while, I don't know what happened, but the horse suddenly picked up momentum. And regardless of how much I tried to stop it, it wouldn't stop. And finally, I fell off. One of my legs was actually caught in the stirrup. And it just kept going for a while. It dragged me a little bit, and then my leg fell out, and I had to go to the emergency in UK, which was interesting because, again, it's public funded, so I didn't have to pay anything. But it was probably, even though it was scary when it happened, it's probably one of my funniest experiences because I keep telling myself I don't have much experience with animals, but then I become adventurous and get into one of these things, and it's a memory that I'm going to cherish for a while. And next time when I think about horse riding or interacting with any other animal, this is going to come to my mind and be like, calm down, take it slow. That's my story. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, that story was amazing, Banu. What do you mean you weren't going to be at the top? It's like a cartoon. I'm happy that you weren't really hurt, but that was so good.
Yeah, nothing happened. No fractures, nothing, but it was just so funny.
Oh my gosh, yes, I don't speak to animals either very well. I remember being taken through many a pine tree by a horse. So thank you for sharing that. Anyone else, please? These are great.
Hi, this is Chirag. So my story is more so, I think the first time I got scammed. So when I was in China, there's a lot of different ways to get scammed, of course. I think a lot of people have experienced you get into a taxi and then they drive around forever and just rack up the bill. I've had experiences with that. And when I was in China, it was pre-smartphones. So they had the Razor, but I think like iPhone had just come out. They had just introduced the 3G or one of those. And unfortunately, I had one incident. I was in Beijing. I was traveling the Great Wall of China, and I ended up chatting with a couple of people. They spoke perfect English. And so I was like, all right, finally, I don't have to play charades this whole time. And so we were having a discussion, and then they asked me if I wanted to just grab a drink with them, because I think we were walking for like 30 minutes around the area. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so we went into this tea house, and basically we ordered a tea, but it was a little peculiar, because I was thinking we're just gonna grab something off of like the street carts like that are right there, because they charge you as like 50 cents as like nothing, especially because at that time the dollar I think was like 6 RMB for there. And so we basically ended up, I think, sitting inside, and they ordered a bunch of tea, and then they started ordering other food. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, it's chips, it's nothing, like this isn't going to be a big deal. Anyway, we eat a couple of things. I think we're chatting for like 30 minutes, and then they bring the bill, and it's the equivalent of like $100. And I'm sitting there like scratching my head thinking all I had was tea, and I didn't actually have that much cash on me to pay them. And so I was just frantic, and I started yelling at them in English, and I was like, no, hell no, I'm not doing this. I didn't even touch the chips, and I had to like talk my way into paying the person. I think I owe the person like $20 for like a little tea bag, which was ridiculous. But anyway, it was like my first time I got scammed out of anything. And then learned that I checked it out on a blog later on that apparently it's a pretty common practice to where I guess there's people that speak English, and it's completely orchestrated, and I was just one of the suckers. But anyway, my first experience in experiencing that. So I yield the mic.
Chirag, I was dying. The first thing you said is, this is the first time I got scammed, and we all been there. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, but Patrice, welcome. We were first answering the question on how traveling has impacted your career. If so, how? If you want to answer that question or introduce yourself, you sure are welcome to.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me in this space. I think I follow Elizabeth, and she follows me as well. That's how I was able to see this room. Is it a room or a club? Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Patrice Jua, and enjoyed listening to all of your beautiful travel stories, and have been inspired as well. I'm from West Africa, Liberia, and I'm a communications and international affairs professional and an award-winning poet. My work focuses on education, especially for girls across the African continent, and I help international organizations to embed social and emotional learning into their work. So yes, travel has inspired, or traveling has inspired my life. It has not inspired my life, but it has enriched my life. I'm from a country that had a 14-year civil war, and I've been an internally displaced person. I've been a refugee. When I was very little, before I even turned 10 years old, my family moved around a lot. And the first time I left home was to go to neighboring Côte d'Ivoire in West Africa. It's a former French colony. And that was my first introduction to a peaceful society, because the one I was from has so much chaos. And I loved it. I immersed myself into the language, the culture. It wasn't so different from my home country, because it broadened, my horizon. I got to learn the French language, although I already spoke English, which is the official language of Liberia. And then I learned another traditional language that we speak here in Liberia. And that was the beginning of my journey, in exploring the world. I've always been very restless. And I believe I'm always in search of something. I'm always in search of knowledge. I enjoy meeting people from different backgrounds, always curious. And I've been moving around, studying in the US, studying in Ghana, doing fellowships in Germany, Recently, a few years ago, I moved to Madrid, Spain, and I was able to immerse myself into that culture as well while doing my research, my graduate research there, and learning the Spanish language. And I only knew hola when I got there, but I was able to get a good grasp of the language before leaving the country. I think it has really been an incredible journey so far, and I think there's still more to experience and explore. Yeah, so it's really helped me from a small country of 4.5 million people. What Elizabeth said about leaving the Midwest and venturing out has been my story. I'm always, before COVID, I was always on a plane, just moving around, just feeling like I need to do more, and there's more out there to learn, to see, and to experience. So traveling has really enriched my life beyond my tiny West African shores, even, before I got to see the rest of the world. I experienced the world through books, and I eventually got to see the world once I got older and was able to afford travel. Thank you so much. I know I'm going all over the place, but I just wanted to come up and share. Initially, I wanted to listen, but I thought I would come on and say thank you for sharing your beautiful stories, and I'm happy to connect with you all. Thank you so much.
Lovely to see you, Patrice.
All right, so this one is my last question, and of course, anyone else is willing and can interject. But next place you're traveling for fun, just in general. I mean, like as things open up, and obviously some things are, we're still, a lot of things are in lockdown. So maybe if you don't already have this planned, then maybe the next place you want to when you're able to travel to.
So after being on this platform, I have so many travel destinations that I want to go to now. It's been an absolute eye-opener. Again, I'm going to give a big shout out to Chirag, because Chirag knows I was so against it, and now I am loving this app. I have met so many people from all over the world, including Patrice, and it's just really, even having an experience like this has opened me up, and I'm sure for others as well, as it's just countless places to go to. And honestly, it's changed that single story viewpoint, if you will, because a lot of times, and a lot of us don't really have accurate information about what a place is really like. So if we're listening to the media or any kind of mainstream online platforms, there's no telling what kind of misconstrued viewpoints or opinions people have. We're not always given the accurate information about what's actually going on in a nation or a city or a state. And so for me, I love this app because it's allowed us to kind of almost circumvent our governments who are supposed to, establish these relationships for us, but given us all individually an opportunity to connect one-to-one and talk about where we're from and where we live and how things are and what's really going on. So for me, I'm really excited to start my travels, and I'm going to be full disclosure, never had any interest or at all to go to India. And now I'm just like blowing up all over India and loving it. So I am so excited to go to India. I have to go to Korea because I'm married to a Korean. So those two are my top destinations. But then I want to go to Africa, and specifically West Africa. So yeah, Patrice, I would love
you're welcome. We'll show you around.
So definitely want to go to Nigeria, want to go to Liberia. It's so many places now in Africa. I've met the most amazing people because of this platform. And again, going to give a big shout out and thank you to Chirag, because he is the reason I'm on this platform. And I was not willing to come on the platform. It took forever, right? I just got on it in February, finally. I'm all late. And so they're like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm like, oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever done. It's like way past Latif, because that's how Chirag and Adam and I met. So we're way past that. This is like networking on steroids. So really, really, really looking forward to Africa. I'm just going to go in order that the plane was. So Africa, India, and then Korea, and then swing on back home. So that's me. And I'm Elizabeth, and I'm just speaking.
Beautiful. This is Chirag speaking, everyone. And just to do a quick reset. So we are Mission Matters. We're a platform focused on the needs of entrepreneurs, business owners, executives. And we basically have published authors like Elizabeth and Banu. They're authors in books that we published in the past, and we put together weekly events for them. And so with that, we host weekly events. Definitely follow our Mission Matters Club, and also definitely follow all the speakers here, because everyone's got a unique and amazing story. On my list, I would say Bali is probably up there for me, and then followed by, I think, Japan and Tokyo and Kyoto. And then that probably followed by Italy being on my list. So those are my destinations. I yield the mic.
Oh my God, so many pangs of traveling coming back, just gushing back from the last 2 years. But there were a few places where I had listed just before the pandemic hit, and that was mostly on the Asian side. So I was looking towards Hong Kong, Korea, and Cambodia, actually, because I've heard of a massive Hindu temple there that I'm very curious to see, and that's one of the largest, which is interesting because usually Hindu temples are found back in India, but this is one that's outside of the country that is one of the biggest ruins there. So I was very attracted to that. So those were the places that I wanted to go. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Oh, Patrice, yes.
You can go, Adam. When you're done, I can go.
All right, so I was going to say, first off, Chirag, I want you to go to Bali, please, and go have fun and take some great pictures, because that's going to be awesome. Then I want to go to, Japan and Korea, and I just want to go to those two places. It's just been on my bucket list for like many, many years. Been to China for a little bit, but I want to go to those two. I don't have a specific reason, so I feel like, Chirag, you have to find some business reasons to send me over there so we can write off that trip. So make that happen for us, Chirag. My name is Adam, and I yield the mic.
Ooh, I'm enjoying all of your stories. I just have wanderlust right now, anywhere but here. That's type of anywhere but here feeling. Don't mind me, I love my little West African paradise, and you all are welcome to Liberia. It is the oldest independent nation in Africa. It is the only African country that was not colonized, along with Ethiopia. So as the name depicts, it's a free land of liberty, a land of the free, and you all are welcome whenever you want to visit. You're most welcome. Know that you have a friend here. Before the pandemic, I was thinking, I think with the lockdowns and borders being closed around the world, I've been focusing more on African travel, traveling across the continent, mostly this year. So my first stop would be Rwanda, which is emerging as a little Singapore of sorts of the African continent. And then Cabo Verde, our own little West African island. And then Sao Tome and Principe is another beautiful Central African paradise. And then South Africa. And then maybe outside of Africa would be Singapore once the borders are opened. That's it from my end. Patrice, and I'm done.
My cousin went to Singapore and stayed in that hotel that has it looks like the ships on top of the towers. And oh my gosh, she took pictures from the pool. And I'm like, I'm never going that high. It is so amazingly, incredibly scary. I don't even know. It looks amazing, just the construct. But when she took the pictures that she showed us, she's like, yeah, I'm going back. She could only stay there 2 nights because it's like super expensive. But she's like, I had to do it. I just had to see that pool. And it's like an infinity pool, so that makes it even scarier up that high. And then the pool looks like it's like dropping over the edge when it's actually not. So yeah, it's amazing, and definitely on my bucket list too. Just had to, maybe we'll go together, Patrice.
Yeah, I think it's the Marina Bay Sands or something.
Yeah, that is it. Yes. Chad, you know.
Oh, sorry, what was that?
Do you know about that hotel?
Yeah.
Everybody knows about that hotel.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's like on every major, like, if you look at like anything Singapore related, they always show Marina Bay Sands. It's like brand aligned on every like postcard, anything Singapore. Like Marina Bay Sands is like what they always show, because that like long infinity pool overlooking the entire city. Yeah. So, usually we cap these conversations to about an hour since we do host them every single week. And so we always like to conclude if anyone has some final tidbits or comments or anything that they'd like to make before we part ways.
I just want to encourage everyone to travel as much as possible. It's really an eye-opener, which I think has been reiterated through all the conversations that we have had today and all the perspectives that people have shared. It really helps you grow beyond everything that books can offer, everything that your parents can offer. There's a lot more learning to seeing and experiencing things on your own through your own senses. So whenever you get a chance to, definitely travel. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And so our next week's session our conversation is actually going to be on what lessons have you learned from your favorite book? So speaking of books, we know we've all read a few and written a few here. So I think that'll be a very engaging conversation. And so thank you so much for tuning in. I would like to actually end with one last story and then can call it a day. But basically, I tried this. So I was in Hong Kong and I used to travel there infrequently for work prior to Mission Matters from like 2016 to 2018. I think I was going there once every quarter. And so I was very plugged in to my university, USC. And one of the things that I realized was I wanted to meet more like-minded people, especially when I'm traveling. I was like, what was an easy way to meet people? I went on LinkedIn and found out that there were about 2,300 USC graduates that lived in Hong Kong. What I did is I added just about every single one of them as a connection on LinkedIn. I spent like maybe a couple hours literally just like adding a bunch of people. Then what I started doing right after is I set up like a simple like Eventbrite, and I found like a happy hour place, like a bar, like 5 minutes from my hotel. And I invited all of these people. I told them, I said, hey, look, I'm in town. I'm a fellow USC Trojan and would love to connect with all of you, or would love to connect. We're going to invite a few Trojans. I had never met these people. I had 50 some odd people showed up throughout the evening. It was like a 2-3 hour mixer. And then I told the USC Alumni Association, the people who are running it, that, hey, I was hosting this thing and it's a little impromptu, so it's not an official. We had about 50 people showed up. 30 of the people that attended had never gone to a USC function after they graduated. And I'm talking about there were people there that graduated 40, 50 years ago that had no association with the university whatsoever. And so I got to meet like 30 different strangers, but it's a very easy strategy. I think a lot of people can easily replicate, right? Just go figure out where your university is. LinkedIn allows you to show wherever that person's staying. And it was probably one of the best ways that I met people. I actually do that all the time when I'm traveling to a different city. If I want to connect, my goal is connecting with fellow Trojans, but I know there's an easy way to find CEOs, founders. So anyway, something just to implement it when you're traveling. So just my final sense on that.
Why aren't you giving master classes? Seriously, Adam.
Chirag, when I did that, that's so funny that you said that. I did that when I moved from Pasadena to Beverly Hills. I'm like, I don't know anybody here. What am I going to do? And I invited everybody in Beverly, Wilshire, and a bunch of people showed up. Magic Johnson, they replied back and said he was busy and couldn't make it, but thank you for the invite. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I'm new to Beverly Hills. Everybody come to Beverly, Wilshire. Let's have a drink and connect, Spartans.
Yep, it works.
And that was just a couple miles away. I could not believe it. People love their alma mater no matter what.
Yep.
That is so great. Great idea.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it works like a charm. So anyway, I just wanted to leave with that. Hope that was helpful. With that, tune into our next show next week, Thursday, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST, and follow the club, Mission Matters Club at the top, and all of your fellow speakers, panelists, and let's connect further. But with that, thank you so much and hope everyone enjoys their evening.
Same to you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.